want them to be able to, like, when they're scrolling through their suggested or homepage or whatever touch point, you want them to instantly be able to understand what you're conveying, and you want them to feel some type of emotion. You know what I mean? The way I like to phrase it is you want to make it so interesting or spike their curiosity or whatever emotion so much that, like, if they don't click it, they'll wonder, you know, when they're before they go to bed, like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like an example would be like if you uploaded a video, I rode a skateboard with 1,000 other people on it, and like people are falling off the side or whatever. And I'm envisioning like a giant skateboard, people like hanging on the side of it. Maybe it's like about to go off a big ramp. If you don't click that, you're gonna like be so curious. It's gonna be on your mind, you know? Later in the day when you're daydreaming, you're gonna think like, what happened? What happened to those 1,000 people on that skateboard? That's kind of the mindset I think you should have when making thumbnails.
How often do you change a thumbnail on a video? Is that something, do you usually just stick with one, or you try different ones?
Well, I think we get better at making thumbnails every year. So it's more, when I upload a thumbnail, I usually think it's good and I don't change it most of the time. But what happens is like 3 years later, I look back and I'm like, oh, that's a horrible thumbnail. And so it's usually like every 2 years we just go back and update a lot of our older thumbnails just because they're terrible. Just with like the new knowledge we have and what we've learned. And funny enough, that actually usually does help quite a bit when we update the thumbnails on old videos. They usually do see a little bit of an uptick because they're just, you know, if we take an old thumbnail where it's like seeing if whatever, like 100,000 magnets can stop a car, and it just looks terrible. And then with the new stuff, I know we zoom in a little bit so it's a little more visible and make things look better. Then magically it starts doing a little bit better because now people actually understand what it is, because I'm not as much of an idiot anymore.
In 10 years, YouTube's going to be bigger than television ever was for culture, in America at least, in my opinion. And so I think a lot of people underestimate that, and I don't think people really understand just how, like, to be one of the top creators on the biggest social media platform, and that will also be the biggest in 10 years during that whole time, like the amount of value and how crazy that is. Like,